Kick in the 1-0. Wood drives one, deep right field. It's hooking toward the corner. Will it stay fair? It hits the foul pole. It's a home run. James Wood bangs it off the foul pole for a 3-run shot. The Nationals blow it wide open as they lead it 9-3.
All right, you're wondering why the hell I'm playing a James Wood home run. Now, he's hit a bunch of them this year. Of course, he plays for the Washington Nationals. Big-time win by the Nats last night in San Diego. That was a loss for us. We did have Acuna going yard. He's still celebrating. Come on, dude. Just run the bases. What are we doing here? Kyle Fisher joining me. Yeah, James Wood. I did not know that this would be a topic of discussion today. However, before I left the house a little earlier today, apparently, you know how it is in the sports gambling world that we live in. Shout out to my guy, Kilkenny. I know Kenny had a huge following, the Mooney Gang, and still is doing it. The Discord. Kenny was one of the first. I believe Chili Betts is his name, and he's been around for a long time. I tend not to follow these people. And the reason why is because they're always putting out these tickets. And it's just like, damn, dude, like, I want that. I need to gamble more. I got to be, it just doesn't work for me. All right. I'm not cashing those type of tickets. So I stopped following a lot of those people. All love and respect. Just don't need that on my timeline. Well, apparently everybody follows Chili Betts, and they did have James Wood going yard. So he does. He goes absolutely yard last night, late too. Top of the 8th inning. There it is. Yeah, it was off the foul pole, and apparently a ton of people cashed in. Again, you tell me if it's true or not. You believe what you want to believe. But FanDuel apparently has changed the rules as early as this morning. And now they can they will now allow to not pay gamblers who hit big money after tailing heavily followed parlays. Section 15.2.5, as I spit all over my computer screen. You got to love that. We suspect that your account's usage could represent business usage. Business usage includes any use by a betting operator or any use by an individual or organization supplying data or service to a betting operator. They don't no longer have to pay you out on that one. And then finally, it says 8.13, FanDuel Sportsbook reserves the right to void any or all bets made by any group of people acting in conjunction with each other or any individual acting alone in any attempt to defraud FanDuel Sportsbook. Dude, that ain't right, man.
So if anything hits, they can basically just, sorry. If anything big hits, they reserve the right because they can come up with some connection that they'll never reveal to the world, saying, oh, well, we think you got it from whatever 1-800 number you called that runs on Saturday morning before your local sports talk show. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
They always find a way to win. I mean, it's, whatever. It's not Vegas. It's not local to Vegas anymore, but the house always wins, man. This is why I don't get involved in the first place.
That's a tough pill to swallow. And again, I'm live now, so let me just follow up by saying I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty damn close to it with this being real. It's all over the place. Everybody cashed in. Everybody had it last night. He is a big-time a provider of those type of plays, the parlays. And again, it was a late-night game against the Padres, so I'm sure a lot of people were connecting the dots on that. Just that ain't right, man. It ain't right, and it's just more to exactly what you just said, that it's tough sledding when you really want to cash in. I know people that are just some limited to $10 plays, and it's like, man, if you want to, the Super Bowl, I was limited, and I'm a nobody. Like, I was the Eagles. I was trying to put $1,000 on the Eagles, and couldn't even get that play in. It's just absurd. It's an Eagles play. It's a local play. Of course, we're going to put a couple dollars there on it, but regardless,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, more of the same. Anyways, let's get it on over to Philadelphia. Kyle, how we doing today, sir? Great to have you on today's show. Of course, coming off of taking 2 of 3 against the New York Mets at Citizens Bank Park over the weekend. Fantastic job by the Fightins there. Now on top of the division, Mets are leaking oil. Braves went up to Citi Field and beat them pretty good yesterday. It was actually a tight game, but still coming away with that victory. I did not think that the Braves were going to win that game, even though they were favorites in that one. But with all that being said, we got ourselves a great game tonight in Houston. Before we talk about that, your big takeaway from the weekend series versus the Mets was what?
The return of Jesus Luzardo. The concern, from a lot of folks was that he's past his innings limit from last season, or excuse me, past the number of innings he threw last season. He started to struggle a little bit. I think he had one good game mixed in out of like 2 or 3 rougher ones. And the question was, is he starting to lose steam already coming off of an injury-plagued season? Not that he was cooked for good, but maybe I need to take a step back for him when it comes to innings or, Phantom IL situation, whatever you want to do. Some concerns raised about the starting rotation as a result. However, he goes out there and shoves on Sunday. Clutch moment, huge crowd, probably the most exciting crowd supporting both teams that he's experienced in his career. So to see him go out there poised and just dominate, especially the top of the Mets lineup, which is really strong, to go out there and dominate was really good to see. So that's my biggest takeaway. Second would be the offense. They're falling in love with themselves again, falling in love with the team. Not all getting it done by the long ball. A lot of pass the baton mentality that Topper's kind of preached over the years. Next guy up mentality. That's always been a thing for him. So to see them have a few innings where it was hit, walk, hit, finally delivering the dagger in some of those situations. And the dagger wasn't a 2-run shot or a 3-run shot and nothing else happens. It was, let's get the bases loaded. Okay, bases clearing double from Bryson Stott. Get the bases loaded again. Huge hit from somebody else. Otto Kemp showing what he can do in big situations and big games. So everybody's starting to contribute all at once. With a guy like Bryce Harper out, that's what you want to see. So I'd put Luzardo's resurgence at number 1. Still need to see what he does in the next few. And then the offense kind of playing past the baton would be the second takeaway.
Yeah, Cassidy, big-time weekend. Of course, as you pointed out with Stott, with that huge double off the wall that cleared the bases. We had that major league vibe scene where it was JT and Cassidy, I think, were sliding neck and neck. Pretty cool stuff there.
That was awesome.
Again, just a big-time series with a lot of juice in the ballpark and to deliver and take first place and rewarding the fans that were down there. It wasn't exactly 100-degree heat like it is today, but still a lot of fun and keep it going. That's all there is to it. As this team rolls on down to Houston, and now they got themselves a pretty big game against the Houston Astros. I get it. It's a team from the West, American League, but these are the type of games that you want to check the temperature, right? You want to see if the steak that's on the grill is done. You can pull it off at 160, 145. Sorry, I almost said 165. That's chicken. You're gonna be 165. I'll go 145 for the steak. That's what it is. And against a pitcher like Valdez, who has been lights out in these past 8 starts, 8.4 record on the season, 3.09 ERA. He is unbeaten over his last 8 starts, going 7-0 with a 2.13 ERA, 62 strikeouts in 55 innings. So yeah, this is a game that you want to see what you look like against a team that could potentially be in the World Series. Correct?
For sure. From my perspective, this is a game that's going to have a lot of eyeballs. Scouts around the league are going to be looking at this game, not for this upcoming trade deadline, and I know we'll get there later, but Valdez and Suarez, 2 crafty left-handers. They're both free agents at the end of this season. They're both having incredible seasons. People are going to be watching this game very closely. Like you said, the Astros were kind of middling the first 2 months of the season. Well, how's a 14-6 so far in June? Right back at the top of the division. They are hot as a team, riding the back of Framber. So despite the fact that they have a lot of rookies in that rotation right now, Framber ain't one of them. And he's a guy who's been able to handle the Phillies just fine. In his regular season starts, he's gone 12 innings, 13 Ks, a 2.25 ERA against the Phillies. And he beat them twice in the World Series. 6 or more innings twice. He's held the entire Phillies lineup to a 203 batting average combined, obviously not including Harper because he won't be here. But he has handled the Phillies every single time he's seen them. And he's hot right now. So despite how good Ranger's been, 1.17 ERA in his last 8 himself, it's going to be a tough challenge for these two, and it's going to be which offense stays hotter against these tough lefties.
Yeah, minus 157 for the Astros. Valdez, of course, at home, plus 129 for the Phillies. Which is more surprising for your money, The fact that the total is listed at 7.5, only 8 runs will cash that for you between these two offenses, these two teams, and what they've been producing as of late, or the fact that the Phillies are plus 129 underdogs. Which one's more surprising to you, Kyle Fisher?
Ooh, I want to say that the Phillies are the underdogs, but really it's the man, because the runs. I mean, you have two stellar pitchers on the mound. Of course, 8 runs could get it done easily.
Pretty
I
much
think
on
that
top.
yeah, man, those are two really, really good bets. If you're making me pick one, I'd say the Phillies as a what did you say, 129 underdog?
Correct. Plus 129.
I'd probably say that's more surprising, but they're both really, really good lines.
Yeah, that's why they do what they do. Pretty good at what
Yeah.
they do, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So as far as that is concerned, we don't have a lineup out just yet, but we could assume that we're going to see the big dog in there, like Kyle Schwarber. I'm gonna say Kyle Fisher. It'd have been funny if you were going down there to play. We're
We
gonna
don't want to
see
see that.
Nick Castellanos. We're gonna see Trey out there. Is there somebody that you're taking from this weekend's performance and saying, you know what? I think they're going to continue to stay hot, and if they have the mental makeup to compete against a guy like Framber Valdez and have success tonight in Houston, is there anybody catching your attention? Bohm would be a guy. I know it's the lefty-righty matchup, maybe potentially that could get some eyeballs there. Is there one player from the Phillies perspective that you're looking at tonight a little bit more?
Well, Bohm, I think he's going to be in the lineup no matter what. So I don't think that it would be a surprise to see him go down there and do well. Not only is he a good hitter against both hands, he really does well against left-handed hitting and left-handed pitching rather, and he's one of the best hitters as far as uh, overall right now on the Phillies. He's
Yeah.
so hot. To me, I gotta think that Edmundo Sosa is going to take that swag from Sunday and
Ooh.
apply it tonight. He's more than likely going to get the start over Bryson Stott at second base, just facing a left-handed, such a tough left-handed pitcher in Valdez. Guy hits an opposite field homer, the furthest opposite field homer he's ever hit in his career on Sunday. It was the ninth opposite field homer of his career. First time I've ever seen him pimp a home run. You see that little jump he did after crushing that one?
That was
He has
smack.
some swagger that he's playing with right now, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him do some damage against Valdez tonight. Maybe not another home run, but another 2-for-3 game, maybe something like that. I could see him coming up and showing out down in Houston.
Well, we will mark the tape just in case he does go yard, because right now Kyle Fisher just gave out Sosa home run plus 850. Not kidding. That's a nice number there to sprinkle just a little bit. Total base is at plus 185 for 2. So a good name to have in your mind, maybe potentially if you're trying for some of that FanDuel money out there. We're not going to cash a James Wood ticket that everybody's a millionaire instantly overnight. But bottom line is we're trying to steer you in the right direction. As far as strikeouts are concerned, one quick look at as far as what those numbers are. Right now, Framber Valdez at 6.5 minus 105. Ranger at 4.5 minus 140. Ranger's normally at the 6.5 total mark. And he's gone over a bunch. Let me pull up those exact numbers because I know I cashed in on him last game out that he had 6 strikeouts. But anything for you as far as high strikeout totals? Is there one side that generally you think might struggle a little bit more than the other?
I think Framber's more than likely. If you're picking between the two on who's going to go over, I'd go Framber. Not that the Phillies have been striking out a ton like they have in the past few seasons, but Ranger's a guy who has no problem getting it done with ground balls and weak contact. So although he can give you 6 to 8 strikeouts a game, he's been hovering in like the 4 to 6 range. I think that the safer bet is probably going Framber if you're going to bet on strikeouts between one or the other.
Interesting. Yeah, Rangers Suarez strikeouts, 8 over last time out, 6 over previous game. That was the game against the Blue Jays, or maybe it's the Marlins, I forget. The 5, he stayed under 5.5 against the Pirates. He finished with 2, stayed under the 5.5 against the Brew Crew. And then he went over. He is normally going over that strikeout total when it's set around the 4.5 to 5.5 mark. So last time that he has had the 4.5, as I said, against the Toronto Blue Jays, he did go over that number. Again, we're talking about a little bit different of an offense, but still Toronto pretty good in their own right as far as offensive firepower is concerned. And he finished with 6 strikeouts there. So we'll see what happens. Bullpen will be rested, right? Ready to go. So maybe Ranger might not stay in there. But again, this is a guy that goes to the 7th inning. So for my money, I'm going to put a little bit on Ranger Suarez to go over that number as far as strikeouts are concerned.
Well, if you look at the track record, see, I didn't have that in front of me, so good research by you, Sean.
I don't know if
you pulled it up.
I don't know if we can call that research when I do it on the fly. That's more of like, pulling something out of my ass.
I don't know, man. Live research is way
Hey.
more pressure than coming in and being prepared. And you got it in no time. We didn't have silence. We didn't have dead air. Nothing, sir. So
I appreciate
I'm going to give
that.
you the credit for coming up with it on the fly.
Means a lot coming from that side of the mic, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. But yeah, I think it's not a bad bet. If I'm picking one, I'm going Framber just because I think looking at the offense that the Astros have right now, and like you said, maybe over the last 8 starts he's gone over majority of the time, but if you look at the last 3, he's gone under. So I'll take the under if I was putting a bet down, I'd say the under on Ranger. Still getting through 6, maybe into the 7th, regardless.
Yeah, we opened up the show with Mark Henry Jr., and I was talking to him about whether or not he is surprised that the Astros are as good as they are currently on top of the West and kicking butt and taking names. And then Mark opened my eyes, and maybe I should have been a little bit more aware, but the American League is down, man. That's a bad, bad league right now. You got the Yankees, no doubt about it. Nobody's denying that. You got the Tigers, of course, and you got the Stros. And then the drop off happens. And the 2 biggest disappointments for my money this year, and I know maybe I probably should have the Braves up there. Is it still too early to pour dirt on the Braves? It just doesn't seem like it's
a little
happening.
bit.
Yeah. But the 2 biggest disappointments right now for me are the Baltimore Orioles and the Texas Rangers, both American League teams that aren't delivering. So I'm not surprised that the Astros are as good as they are right now, but should we be looking at them as a World Series contender? Could this potentially be at least one team from tonight's matchup be representing the league in the Fall Classic?
Yeah, I mean the Astros are a proven commodity. They have some guys from that era of going to World Series and winning a couple titles. It's not the same Astros team, right? We know that Bregman's gone. We know that Correa's gone. We know Springer's gone.
Yeah.
But Alvarez is incredible. Altuve's still there. Their pitching has held up despite the fact that they have quite a few injuries in that rotation. They're only going to get healthier. They still have a top heavy, albeit, but a strong end of the bullpen. If they can get some arms back and make some deals in the margins at the deadline, maybe not go after a splashy name, but I don't see why they wouldn't stay at the top. Seattle, for whatever reason, to me, a month ago, I felt like, man, it's finally their time. They're going to take over Houston. And 4 weeks later, I'm not feeling the same way. There's something about Seattle that just they cannot, outside of Cal Raleigh, cannot seem to get the offense going no matter who they bring in there. So unless they trade for an impact bat, there's no reason to think that Houston's going to fall out of this division.
Well, tell you what, I know that we would all take a repeat of the 2022 season right here, right now, getting to a World Series. Now, nobody would co-sign or sign up for a 6-game series with the loss. Right. It's a tough pill to swallow. It would be great. You make the World Series. It's a hell of a run. Playoff baseball, nothing better. It's a dumb, interesting question at the same time. Would you sign up for that right now? I can't say yes. I can't say yes.
Well, I mean, if you're saying, am I signing up for a rematch and then we'll let the cards fall where they may, then yes, obviously that's the answer.
I'm in.
But if you're saying, I know that they're going to make it and I know they're going to lose in 6 games, I mean, how can you say that you're excited about that, right?
Well, that's
you don't
a great run, man. That was an awesome time in this city.
So what I'll say is,
that was everything.
If I don't know, even if it's preordained that they'll lose in 6, but I'm not aware of this, we're talking about this very random hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't play out the exact same way where you get no hit and you go up and you end up losing a couple in a row, I'm fine with that. If you give me hope, even if you lose 4 out of 6, but you're competitive the whole time and there's not this killer feeling after that one going back down to Houston and then they take care of you, even if you end up losing in 6, to me, that's a reminder. The big concern is that they've gone one level back, one round of the playoffs shorter each season. If they go back to the World Series, that's proving to everybody in the fan base, look, we're serious. These last couple of years were flukes. Look, we're right back in the dance, and we're serious next season too. So I can't say that I wouldn't take that as long as you're not telling me in advance that they lose. If they leak the script, I'll take it. Don't even get my emotions up, right? You can have it, but how can you say no?
I forgot they got no hit in that World Series.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. Was not fun.
That's a great sports trivia question for Houston people, right? If I did Houston Quizzo or something around Astros trivia. Like, name the 4 pitchers that threw a combined hitter in Game 4 of the 2022 World Series. Do you remember who started that game for the Astros?
I don't. I
Christian
feel like I
Javier.
should, but I've tried to push it out of my mind.
Yeah, Javier got the start. Then he handed it to Brian Abreu, Rafael Montero, and Ryan Presley.
I knew Presley closed it out. That's all I knew, though. So,
How
yeah,
about
that's disappointing. It was disappointing in the moment for sure, and it did. I held out hope that it wouldn't suck the life out of them, but it seemed to. And how could you blame them? I mean, you go out there and get no hit on the biggest stage after. I think they had such an electric game the game before too, with a few home runs in front of the home crowd, and then to come out in front of your home crowd and get no hit the next night is like, oh man.
They were a tough team. Astros were good. You know, it was uphill climb. We know that we felt like we were playing with house money there a little bit, but all in all, that was a pretty good matchup. Went 6 games, and Phillies ended up coming up just short. But hopefully this year will be a little bit different. Just to let everybody know, right now, currently, as we sit on DraftKings, Yankees to represent the AL plus 265, followed by the Tigers at plus 295. Then you got the Astros at plus 450. Then the Mariners all the way up to plus 950. Then they go Rays, Blue Jays, Guardians, Red Sox, moving over to the National League. And I did make the case that there was a huge drop-off, but it's almost the same. It's very similar. Dodgers and Phillies, you got Dodgers at plus 150, Phillies at plus 425, then the Mets at 5-1, then the Cubbies at 8-1, Giants, Brewers, Padres, Diamondbacks. Really intriguing because when you look at that, it does give you somewhat similar vibes. Like, I don't necessarily believe right here on June the 24th, regardless that they've been on a 9-game losing streak, whatever it is right now for the Mets, I don't necessarily have believed that they are a World Series caliber baseball team. And they're at 5-1. So I wouldn't really give the edge to the National League when you look at it like that. For me, as I sit here right now, Yankees, Tigers, and Astros can absolutely get to the World Series. I don't think the Mets can. I think that pitching staff has just been pitching way above expectations, and eventually that's going to catch up. I know not necessarily it works out like that every time. They have great bats. They got some good leadership in Lindor, no doubt about it. Great fan base. I give them credit. Got a lot to prove or work off of what took place last year, but I'm against the Mets and taking them and representing the National League in the World Series. Obviously, Dodgers above all, but the Phillies are plus 425, and then I'd say it's pretty much a big drop off. So at least in the American League, long-winded, Kyle, I would think that there's 3 teams that I could put in the World Series. In the National League, I'm probably looking at 2.
Yeah, there was something that I saw earlier on MLB Network. I think it was MLB Now. You talked about how good the Mets offense is, and I feel the same way on paper. When you look at the names at the top of that lineup, Lindor, Soto, who's it, Nimmo, and or either Nimmo or it's Nimmo right now. McNeil's been okay, and then Alonso batting fourth. They have an 857 OPS out of the top 4 hitters in their lineup, a 646 from the rest of the lineup. The 211 point difference is the largest drop off in Major League Baseball. So their top 4 is a hellscape to get through, and then it's easy breezing from there. Obviously it's not going to work that way every single game, but you're right. They're lacking in something on that offensive end that they're going to have to address at the deadline. And they also need to get healthy. You said their starting staff is pitching way above expectations. In my opinion, there's a few guys I cannot believe have been pitching as well. Griffin Canning, I couldn't believe how good that guy has pitched outside of like the last 2 starts coming into this weekend. And nobody expected that from him. Nobody expected Clay Holmes to turn into what he has a year removed from being a faltering closer in the other New York team. It's very surprising to me how well they've done. Right now is probably where you're going to see those numbers start to increase because they are beat up and they're going to have to plug and play some pieces until their stars in Senga and a few others finally get healthy. So, yeah, I agree with you. The way that they're playing right now, and I'm not just looking at the 1-9 because when the Phillies were 1-9, I still felt comfortable saying that they would be in the mix. And the Mets, those top 4 can do a lot for you, but my assumption is that their pitching, unless they do something to address it and add a piece, is going to look very different in 2 months. And I would not put them in the mix guaranteed right now. I think that they're a piece or 2 away, but then again, who isn't really, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's ready to be a piece or 2 away in a couple weeks. So
Damn right. And we're going to talk a little bit about some potential trade prospects, names that are out there, according to Jeff Pass and a couple people out there, as far as Major League Baseball insiders are now floating that list. Of course, We know that the trade deadline is July the 31st, so a little bit after the All-Star break, but no better time than right now to start discussing potential trade targets, no matter the squad out there. I would say this much for Mets fans or anybody out there. First of all, I do want to say that this is the number one play. So most of the time when everybody's on one side, it doesn't hit. We know how that works. But if you're looking at Frankie Montas, who's making his debut for the Mets tonight against the Braves, to be one of those guys to take a grasp of a spot in the rotation and start to be the difference for them, I wouldn't suggest that you do that because in his minor league starts, 18.2 innings pitched, 25 earned runs, 30 hits, 8 home runs, 10 walks, 12 strikeouts. So that leads us to the number one play tonight on the board for a lot of people out there. They're looking at the over in that game. It's total coming in at 9. Of course, you can go team total for the Braves as well. He's probably going to be in a short lease, so I'd be very, very careful to wager on that nonetheless. Spencer Strider getting a start for the Braves. That should be a victory for the Braves as they did win last night and now are 4-0 against the Mets this year, so they do have their number. All right.
Yeah,
Good
I
stuff.
thought that was when I saw his numbers in his rehab assignment, I was stunned too. So
Yeah.
good pull from you. That's one I would stay away from. Or maybe you watch something else if you're a Mets fan tonight.
Yeah, watch the Phillies and the Astros. Phillies have
There we
outscored
go.
their opponents 64-35 while winning 9 of their past 11. The Astros have Major League Baseball's best record in June, 14-6 in the month. So, of course, all eyes on that game coming up this evening. All right, Kyle Fisher joining us here, having some fun. We're going to mix in some other stuff. It's hot outside, Kyle. I don't know if you've been out there. If you haven't, you're a smart man. Stay inside. But we have 5 burning questions. We'll get into a little bit of that with you as well. Trade targets, though. Jeff Passan came out with his targets for the Phillies. I saw this on Luke Arcani's timeline. Got a ton of reaction. Everybody has something to say about these potential names. Again, I don't think that we're going to look at the trade deadline and Landon, let's just say Devers, right, that the San Francisco Giants got, or Cal Raleigh all of a sudden becomes available. I don't think it's going to be any name that a lot of people are going to be all too familiar with, but I still think that they're going to be active. We'll find out what Kyle has to say about all of that. Again, you can find Kyle on socials at KyleFisher45, and be sure to check out everything he contributes over at the Philly Sports Network. Keeping it going here on the Daily Ticket. Do not go anywhere more after this.
You're listening to the Daily Ticket with Sean Brace. On Fox Sports Radio, The Gambler. The action starts here.
Yes, indeed. Kyle Fisher hanging out. Hour number 2 here to Daily Tickets. Kyle, do I got you past 5 or you got a hard out at 5 o'clock?
We can go a little past 5. That works.
Right, you the man. Good. I was a little late. I apologize. Mark Henry Jr. decided to give me his top 10 movies of 2020 for the last 25 years. And he was so passionate about it. I could not stop him. Sure, go right ahead. And next thing you know, I'm looking at the clock going, oh, damn, that's the full segment right there. Kept it going, my fault. But I do want to entertain you with some of those questions to get your take. And again, the big reason why I decided to come up with this is because it's nasty out there. So I said 5 burning questions, dumb questions, radio style. You know how it works. And oh, by the way, going off of yesterday's show where Luke now has a guilty pleasure of this, what is it? Love Island, not Pleasure Island. Jesus Christ. I said behind the lines. When it was outside the lines, I'm losing my brain today.
The heat, it's getting to you. That's what it is.
The heat, exactly.
That's what we're going to blame it on, at least.
Love Island is the show that Luke had a guilty pleasure for. And then I saw with the Iron Pigs took a 6-hour bus ride to their next stop. And Garrett Stubbs tweets a picture out to their next game. 6-hour bus ride, AAA. Damn. The bus doesn't have AC. The boys are running around shirtless in the bus. Yo, they're AAA. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, minor leagues, man. It's like playing JUCO but grown up.
He said what the saying is here is, you don't like it, play better. Yeah, obviously get you to the show, but my goodness, yeah,
I like that line.
that's some eye-opening stuff there. 6-hour bus ride. Buses are terrible. That's a brutal way to get to where you need to go. Anyways, we'll keep it moving. So we'll have some fun with Kyle on that one. I do want to hit you with some quick ones here. First of all, football related, Tight End University. ESPN's broadcasting live from Tight End University. Are you familiar with Tight End, TEU as they call themselves?
No.
It's all the tight ends. George Kittle was the one, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. He's the one that created it a few years ago. And Greg Olson as well had a big piece of it as well. And it was like a one-off. I think they did it in San Francisco. And they got a bunch of guys together. Travis Kelce gets involved. And now it's a huge deal. To what it's growing into, that's pretty damn cool. I get it. It's the NFL. It controls all. But they literally have ESPN out there broadcasting. They got every tight end possibly in the country out there. Pretty cool stuff that they're doing.
Is it for kids coming out of college, or is it
it's pros. It's the tight ends in the NFL all getting together because they don't get
a little mini training camp themselves.
Correct. Yeah,
I like that.
Oh, I love it.
And I love the fact Taylor there getting real eyes on it.
We'll see. You got all the great ones there, that's for sure. So I don't know actually if Kelce is there. I believe he was, but I could be wrong on that. Anyways, he is there. He is there because I'm looking at a picture, so I apologize on that one. Some other odds and ends real quick if we could. Now, Kyle knows a thing or two when it comes to the sports complex. Serve Beer continues to serve beer and work down there. And I saw an article today where they were talking about beer prices around the country. And I texted you, I said, could you tell me where the $7 beer is located at Citizens Bank Park? Because for every time I go, it's $9+, buddy. Apparently there's a $7 beer out there at CBP, and I don't know about, what is it, Pabst Blue Ribbon on draft that you get like a little Dixie cup of it? Is that the $7 beer out there?
No, so there is, and I forget if it's every game or specific games, but out on like the Miller Lite flight, it's not the flight deck, that's the link, but they have like a big bar area at the one end where the Chickies and Pete's is on Ashburn Alley.
Yep.
So they open the left field or the center field and right field gates early and allow fans to go just on the alley. And typically they'll do discounted Miller Lights at that point. I forget the price, but if there's any beer that's in there for $7, it's like 3 hours before the game on Ashburn Alley, exclusively Miller Lite. So there's no $7 beer in that building. The cheapest beer I remember when I started there in 2010 was $7.25 for a Coors Light.
That's what it should be now.
I agree. I mean, who's Atlanta when they opened their new stadium? If you remember, the owner set a cap on pricing. So he was like, we'll start here. If we need to increase revenue to make renovations or whatever, we're going to up it a little bit. But there's in the contract cap on how high the price could ever go. And that cap was reasonable, which means that the starting price when they first opened was even more reasonable. Every stadium should be doing that. It becomes impossible to take your family to a game at some of these buildings. It's especially for baseball. If you can't have a decent, reasonable price at a baseball game, which is known for a family environment, it's ridiculous how expensive some of these things are nowadays.
Roaring round of applause for you, Kyle. Well said. No, and again, we're not trying to get you in trouble by no means, but bottom line is it's just so eye-opening. The next day you go home and you're like, wait a minute, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness. And it happened to me on Friday. I went with my father-in-law, 2 brothers-in-law. Everybody bought a round. Everybody bought multiple rounds. Nobody complained. It's just the next day you're like, wait a minute, I spent that, and then on top of that, and then on top of that, oh, by the way, we were at Xfinity Live for 3 hours before the damn game started. Oh, my goodness. Next thing you know, it's like all the money I won on DraftKings, I already spent, for crying out loud. Anyways,
you needed that James Wood ticket to go through.
Exactly. I bring this up because I get these dumb emails, and this one's from Pennsylvania, based off of Pittsburgh Pirates and Philadelphia fans having to deal with some of the more expensive beer prices as far as baseball is concerned. And they make the case, look, Pittsburgh is even a little bit more pricey than Philly, which is funny. Again, not funny, but you understand what I'm saying there. And they put out they say that $9.16 is the 7th most expensive beer for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And if a fan attends every home game and buys one cold one, it will set them back $741 at the end of the year. It's true. Think about that. One beer.
That's insane.
Yeah,
And also the Pirates.
Yeah.
The Pirates. You should be doing like 2-for-1 beer days or $3 beer Wednesdays to get people in that friggin' stadium.
That's right.
That is a gorgeous stadium. You've had great players come through over the years. When you are competitive, that place is rocking. And you're charging $10+ for a beer, probably $6.50 for a water. Get out of here.
$6.50 for a water, for crying out loud. They say the most expensive beer, Washington Nationals. There's no way
this
is true.
I've heard that they're very expensive. Yeah, I haven't worked down there, but a lot of vendors, they'll work at several stadiums and just make that their full-time job. So there's a lot of guys who work in Baltimore and Washington who will come up to Philly all the time. And they said that DC, they're like the percentage that you make on a beer as a vendor is lower, but the prices are so much higher that it balances out. So like when we first got to $10, I think they were around 15 already, which is crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. What are we doing here? Come on. And kids don't even drink anymore, so you should reward the people that are still buying the product. Damn it. Unbelievable. All right, I digress. One good one from the timeline, if we could. I did get this email as well, clearing out my email. That's a pretty good segment right there, Kyle. Public practice for your Philadelphia Eagles has been announced. Join us on August 10th at 6:30 p.m. for the Eagles training camp public practice presented by Independence Blue Cross. Tickets now on sale for $10.25. The benefit to the Eagles Autism Foundation. Fans interested in attending must purchase tickets. Parking for practice is free. Thank you on that one. Again, everyone charges $1 these days. What are you going to do? But still, football season right around the corner, my friend. And I'm looking forward to covering it all again right here on The Gambler. All right, Kyle, let's go ahead and fire up what we were discussing before the break. And this one caught my attention again because we are inching closer, not towards football season. July 31st is the MLB trade deadline. So how active will the Phillies be? We don't know. We assume that they're going to go out there and make a move for somebody to, whether a bat in the outfield, I do believe that they could still potentially use some help in the bullpen. Bullpen has been okay as of late. That's great, but ebbs and flows. And of course, with the loss of Alvarado, so it won't surprise me if they get a bat and a glove or and a pitcher when it comes to the trade deadline. Anyways, Passan put out a bunch of names. Is there anyone particular that caught your attention? He also put out Chapman, of course, the hard-throwing closer. Which it's always fun when he enters the ball game because you never know what you're going to get, I feel like. But, man, any of these names really catch your attention, Kyle?
Yeah, well, there's a few names that everybody's been putting out there. The top-tier closers that are available. Duran from the Twins, Clase from Cleveland, if they're willing to trade him, even though he has 2 years left after this season. Bautista and Mullins is a very common combo that you see thrown out there. So those names are common, and while I think they would all be good additions to the Phillies, the guy that stood out the most to me is someone I hadn't really thought about was Adolis Garcia from the Texas Rangers. Guy's having a little bit of a down year from what you might expect of him, but a lot of his advanced metrics point to more him being unlucky than anything else. And if you bring him in here with Kevin Long, there's a chance that maybe they could make some adjustments with him. The guy's got a lot of pop. He plays a strong outfield. He can play center. He's probably better suited in the corner. So if you can put him in left and then have Kepler or Marsh or Rojas platoon in some way in center, have stellar defense and ride their ebbs and flows, and let Garcia do what he does. Just taking a look, he strikes out a lot, but the entire team's strikeout rate is down across the board. Just looking at 2 seasons ago, he had 39 homers with 29 doubles. Last season, 27 homers, 25 doubles. He's been 25 to 35 homers almost every season of his full-time playing career. So although a little slow right now, he'd be a guy that would be very interesting because plus arm, plus glove, has pop. If you might not put him in the top 3 in the order, but if he's back there protecting Castellanos and Harper and Schwarber, that would be a great addition to me. So he's the guy, even though he's ranked lower on the list, from Passan. I think that he would be a great grab and wouldn't cost you nearly as much as some of these other guys.
Oh, by the way, postseason success back in 2023 when he hit 5 bombs in the ALCS against the Houstons, went yard in the World Series as well. Yeah, he is a bomber. Love to see him. And you bring him in and you start putting him in front of these fans and he delivers. Woo!
He's a guy who's got some swagger to him. It's
Yep.
for sure. He's very reminiscent of, remember when Randy Arozarena broke out for Tampa Bay? And I know he's been traded to Seattle since, but his breakout was in the postseason, and everybody kind of thought, like, man, just the energy that this guy has. He lives for the bright lights, and that reminds me a lot of what Garcia did in that World Series run for Texas. So he's a guy that stood out to me. That not that the other names aren't better on paper or that they might fit a need better, especially with how many closers are listed there. But from my perspective, my money, Garcia is the guy who stood out because he's not a guy that a lot of people have mentioned, but he fits a very specific need. They need power. They need help in the outfield, and he brings both of that in spades.
Yeah, I love it. Luke just simplified it and threw some names out there. Of course, he linked the article, so go read it. But bottom line is when you start to see those names, you're like, all right, there's potential for some names that will register with maybe an average day baseball fan. Of course, people like us that pay attention to this daily, weekly, yearly, so on and so forth. Yeah, these are names that are definitely guys that come in and contribute and definitely help you out, but get the juices going. Let's put it that way. So super excited to see what's going to happen there. Again, a lot of teams potentially in the running. You always got to watch out for those teams that are somewhat in the surprise spot, and it's like, okay, you're here now, you got to go for it. So it might be overpaying for some of those players with some names. That won't be too much of a surprise. I don't expect Dombrowski to empty the wallet by no means, but if the price is right and some of those big name players are available, I would fully expect one or two to be moved here in Philly. Again, I hate to say it like this, but you see what the Dodgers are. That's where it is. That's the bar. The bar has been set. And I know it's baseball and it's a different sport. And, you know, you can go out there with a bunch of average players and beat that. No, man, the Dodgers are damn good. They are so good. And you better have some great bats. You better have everybody in tune, some power numbers hitting, and, of course, some great pitching to beat them in a 7-game series. Hopefully, the Phillies will get an opportunity to do so. All right. Anything else as far as the trade deadline catching your attention before we move off of that?
No, the thing that I found interesting, at least about Passan's article, is how many Red Sox he had listed there. I know that they are 500, but I feel like they're going to be a team that wants to make noise to kind of win back the fan base after the Devers fiasco. So I wouldn't be surprised. Now, he lists Duran on there. I'd be stunned if they traded him, even though they have a surplus of outfielders. He lists Bregman, although the percentages of them moving him is very low, and I would agree with that. But he's mostly on there because he would make a huge impact to whoever acquired him, rather. Yeah, I mean, just how many Red Sox are on there? I think they're going to go the other way. I think they're going to make one of these moves. Maybe they trade the two expiring relievers that they have to retool a little bit, but I don't think they're going to trade anybody who's going to make an impact for them next season. So if you're going to read the Passan article, definitely go follow Luke and check that out. He linked to it already, but I would say that the Red Sox, I wouldn't point at them thinking that they're going to empty the roster out at the deadline.
No, not at all. Kyle Fisher 45 on socials. Couple quick ones for you out of here, Kyle. Aaron Rodgers, the big story of the day, essentially from the Pat McAfee show, said that 2025 will most likely be his final season in the NFL. I don't think anybody's surprised, but the only thing that hit me was, why come back? Why come back and play for the Steelers? Why?
Wants to end on better terms, right? I mean, not a good season at all last year. Had the injury the year before. Wants to end it on his terms, so he comes back, puts all he has left into it, has a decent showing before riding off. These guys are very prideful, so he wants to end it his way, not be told that it's time to walk away.
Especially Rodgers, who ended up giving a wonderful gem of a comment. And normally we get this sound that is updated, but it's not in there just yet. So I apologize on that. But I'll give you the quote. And Rodgers said, quote, "I don't want the attention. When I'm done playing, you won't see me." Kyle Fisher, this is a gambling show. And I don't know if you want to take this wager, but I am willing to bet anybody that we will see Aaron Rodgers when he is done playing. So much so that I could see Rodgers doing a podcast like 3/4 of America. I could see Rodgers being involved somewhat with McAfee. I could see Rodgers being involved with something like Amazon. The number that will be fetched his way will be through the roof, and it's an easy paycheck. Aaron Rodgers, you could sit there and say whatever you want there, bud. You ain't going nowhere. So less is more at this point in time. I know he's got the biggest ego possible, and he's a hell of a player, 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champ, one of the best quarterbacks I've ever seen. But man, like that's the stuff that bothers me. Like, if you have an opinion on the big story of the day in the political world, or, you have your take on vaccines, whether it's incorrect or not. I didn't like the fact that he came out there and what did he say? Yeah, I was immunized, right? When, somewhat lied. I didn't like that. That was odd, especially in that time. But like none of that really hit me and bothers me. You know what bothers me is when he says something stupid like this. You're not going anywhere, bro. You love the attention. You love when people talk about you, and that's why you're back playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers for an offense that's probably going to be even worse than what you were last year with the New York Jets.
Yeah. I don't want the attention is a hilarious statement coming. I didn't know that he was starting his foray into comedy. What a ridiculous statement from that guy of all people. But I do think that he's the type of guy who you won't see go into the booth. I don't think he's going to be a Tony Romo or a Tom Brady. No. I think you're going to still see him doing sparingly what he's kind of doing now. He's boys with McAfee. He'll show up there, especially if he keeps getting that stipend. He'll show up there. If somebody wants to pay him to do like an occasional Zoom during their Sunday coverage, maybe not every week, but I'm sure that he'll take a pretty penny to sit in the comfort of his own home, talk about his drug use, and talk about why the quarterback play isn't as good as it was in his day, just like every quarterback does, right?
Yeah. Wait,
it's going to be more like Favre minus the crime.
Okay. Oh, nice work on that one. You don't see potentially, again, we know what the numbers are, right? Who's got more money than Netflix? Who's got more money than Amazon with Bezos? Maybe Netflix isn't the right one, but they do have money as well.
Yeah.
And they're going into the world of sports. You don't see Rodgers as potentially a who the hell is the guy? Not Whitworth. Who's the quarterback? Fitzpatrick. You don't see him in that role. You don't see Rodgers taking on like a Thursday night football pregame show role.
I think he would do it remotely. I don't think he's going to be a guy who wants to go out to the studio and have to listen to them get him set and dress the way they want him to dress and say and be careful about the things he wants to say. He wants to come in for a 30-second segment, a 5-minute segment remotely, just like showing a square of his head like mine right here. And just, spew off at the mouth, not have to worry about people telling him where to be when. He can do it at his own speed and still make a pretty penny while doing it.
He made $13.65 million this year to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's to take a hit. That's to compete against guys like Myles Garrett. That's to get beat up by all defenses because he's a lack of offensive line for the Steelers. The number that he would fetch from Amazon or Netflix, we're talking just crazy amounts compared to that number.
He might make $10 million just to click a Zoom link next year.
That's true too. You're right. The world is his oyster. It's Aaron Rodgers. Again, I don't care. Like he wants to come off as a victim. A lot of people do that, and that's fine if that's what he wants to do. These people that often yelled about snowflakes. Remember that was the saying like 5-8 years ago. Oh, you're such a snowflake. No, those people are
usually the biggest snowflakes.
Now they're the snowflakes, right? So
it's the most sensitive dudes I know think that everybody else are sensitive.
Yeah, exactly. So like Rodgers saying, "Oh, you're never going to see me." I'll take that action, Rodgers. Let me tweet him. Let me see if he's on Twitter and tweet him. See if I can bet him. All right, we'll keep it moving. Good stuff, Kyle. Having some fun here. We'll get you out of here on this one. What do you say? I did have some fun with Mark Henry Jr. I'm not sure if you caught those questions earlier, but right here. All right, good. So right here, right now, we're looking at what? We're over triple digits right now. I got my car as 103.
It feels like is, yeah, for sure.
You know how it is. It's the dashboard, temperature that everybody takes a picture of, and you're like, whoa, dude, what is going on right now? It is really, really hot. Anyway, so with that being said, I did put out 5 questions, 5 hot questions for Kyle Fisher right here. So with that, let's go ahead and say question number 1, 5 burning questions. Sorry, I was stalling. I was trying to find the email. Couldn't find my questions. 5 burning questions. Smooth operator here. Number 1 on the board. What is the worst sports take you've heard this month, Kyle Fisher?
I don't know. There's a local radio station that tried to justify to me that the Super Bowl winning quarterback isn't elite, isn't good, should leave him out of the top 11, isn't one of the best players to play currently in the city. Not even talking all time, but currently in the city. Slow news for people who don't want to talk about the other sports. So, yeah, that's the worst take that I've heard. Maybe second is the Rodgers take that you just said.
Yeah. You got a new leader in the clubhouse. No, that's a good one. Nice work by you on that one. Question number 2, 5 burning questions on this hot Tuesday. One athlete, coach, or sports media personality you would not want to be trapped in a bus with for 6 hours with no air conditioning.
Oh, that is
one athlete, coach, or sports media personality.
Athlete, coach, sports media personality. Nick Wright.
Oh, Nick Wright.
Every time I see that guy's face, I feel like this burning sensation inside. Not that he's not awful. I know what he's doing. He's really good at what he does. Let me give credit where credit's due. The guy is really good. He's made adjustments to blow up to how he has. I like some of the things that he does to drum up viewership. But he's so good at it that it bothers me. And therefore, I would get hot just sitting next to him. So AC, that guy wants to talk and just blow hot air in my ear. I don't know if I can handle it.
He's about as opinionated as it gets, and he's never wrong. Yeah, he's one of those. All right, number 3, you have to create a new Olympic sport from summer activities. Where are you going? What are you doing? Mark Henry Jr. said gambling. I was like, yeah, I could see it. Let's do it.
Is spike ball an Olympic sport yet?
Spike ball.
Because if not that, I think it's a collegiate sport now.
Are you good at it?
I was good when I first saw it. I was okay. I shouldn't say good. I was good compared to the people I was playing with. But my knees just don't work the same way anymore, man. So not my sport, but a fun sport to watch.
Mine's bucket golf. I'm going to give that answer right there.
Okay. Yeah, I like that.
My buddy Colin ended up getting bucket golf, and we were just having a blast the other day. It's pretty fun. All right, question number 4. What's your guilty go-to pleasure show or movie? Luke Arcani had Love Island on his mind yesterday. Do you have one that you have a go-to?
I don't know if you would consider this, but professional wrestling. I cannot get enough of professional wrestling, even as an adult. There was a long time where I fell off of it. A long time where I fell off of it. And then when my son was around 6 years old, I introduced him to it, got back in. He has since fallen back off, and I can't stop watching. So my guilty pleasure is sometimes I will ignore non-major sporting events to watch professional wrestling instead. So that's my guilty
How about that? That's a good one. All right, Kyle, knocking them out of the park. Final question, number 5. Who you bringing to a barbecue? A current athlete in Philadelphia.
Jason Kelce. Oh, current athlete.
Current athlete. We'll allow it. Jason
if we're going current, Brandon Marsh, because he looks like just the same level of partier as Jason Kelce. Maybe he can't swing him back as much as Jason can, but I think both of them would be a really good time. Roll with the punches and do whatever the party allowed. So can't go wrong with either one of those guys.
Great answers, Kyle. Fantastic job as always. Great to get you on here to mix it up. Of course, we got ourselves a big one tonight going down in Houston. That's front and center for everybody here in Philadelphia. Tomorrow, the NBA draft. You're not a big NBA guy. You're not a big NBA draft guy, correct?
I'll pay attention. We have a crew covering it pretty closely over at Philly Sports Network. I'll be tuned into their draft reaction show the next day for sure. But we have a staunch crew over there doing a lot of prep work this week. Who've been, if you check out phillysportsnetwork.com, they have a nice little prediction piece that they just put out, getting you ready. So I would, I'll be paying attention closely. Probably won't be watching the draft live though.
Yeah, look, it's 2 nights. There's no need for a second night. Come on.
I'm big on show me the picks at the end of the day because I don't watch a lot of college. So like, you could tell me that the Lord himself was drafted, and I'd be like, yeah, just show me the scouting report. I'm fine.
And then we get to rank them too. put a report card out there on the players that we've watched maybe 3 minutes on all season.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we do, man. That's what we do. We got to love it. All right. What are you working over there on the Philly Sports Network? What's your next piece coming up?
So I finally actually started doing the research on that 2 targets from one team trade piece that I've been teasing the last couple weeks. A fun one that I just did, although they just played the Mets. I did a nice little look back at the rivalry of the Mets, most recent history, some major moments between the Phillies and Mets all time, and some big name players who played for both franchises. So that's a little bit of an older piece. And then that trade piece will be out this week. And then I have my live stream on Tuesdays, Alley Talk, over on Philly Sports Network's YouTube, talking all Phillies. So
that's what I'm talking about, Kyle. Staying busy. Yeah, the
Oh, yeah.
first, that's a good one. First player that comes to my mind that played for both is easy. It's Lenny Dykstra.
Okay. Obviously he made the list.
That's easy.
Bobby Abreu's a big one.
Ooh, that's actually not easy. That is a
Because he only played 1 year with the Mets.
That's a good pull. And then now, as I'm thinking about it, of course, he should be top dog front and center, Zach Wheeler.
Of course, Zach Wheeler. Billy Wagner's a big one. And here's one that I didn't realize until I looked it up, and I should have known this. Will surprise a lot of people. Richie Ashburn.
Richie Ashburn played for the Mets.
His last season in Major League Baseball was with the New York Mets.
Wow. I definitely did not know that. That's cool.
I didn't know that one either. The other guys I knew, but didn't know that one.
Fantastic job, Kyle. Always a pleasure, man. Great stuff as usual. Can't thank you enough for popping up on here, especially weekly with us. We lock them in. Sends me a schedule, and I look forward to this hit every single time. We went a little extended run here, so I appreciate that as well. We'll catch up later this week, man, and continue to read you and follow you on socials. Kyle Fisher 45. Always a pleasure, sir.
Appreciate you, man. Talk to you soon.
My man, there he is. Kyle Fisher on the Gambler Stream.